This brief learning module, Minimizing Infection Risk Protect, will teach you about protecting yourself, other staff, and residents from infection. Protecting yourself and those around you begins with understanding when personal protective equipment, or PPE, should be used when caring for a resident with possible or known COVID-19. PPE includes equipment such as goggles, a face shield, mask, gowns, and gloves. When used properly, PPE may reduce or prevent the spread of the virus that causes COVID-19, as well as other viruses, such as those that cause colds and the flu. When it comes to respiratory viruses, like the one that causes COVID-19, respirators are a critical piece of PPE. Make sure you have a well-fitting respirator that covers both your nose and mouth. A NIOSH-improved N95 respirator is recommended if you are caring for someone who has or may have COVID-19. You should be fit tested for the correct N95 at your facility. Make sure you use the respirator that fits best. Let's look at one method for when and how to don and doff PPE. Don means to put on personal protective equipment. Doff means to take off personal protective equipment. It is important to know the steps and the right order to perform them before any contact with the resident who has or may have the virus. First, perform hand hygiene. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, you may use alcohol-based hand rub instead of soap and water, unless your hands are visibly dirty, you are caring for a resident with C. difficile infection, or any other potentially infectious illness that causes diarrhea. Once your hands are clean, put on a gown. Next, put on a mask. Then you should put on goggles or a face shield. Finally, put on gloves to cover your hands. Once you have donned or put on the proper PPE, you may enter the room and care for your resident. Now let's review the steps in order to doff or remove PPE. First, before leaving the resident's room, carefully remove your gloves, then your gown. Discard the gloves and gown in the resident's room and exit the resident's room. Next, perform hand hygiene. Then, use the headband or earpieces to take off your face shield or goggles. Remove your respirator. Use the ties or elastics to remove it. Try not to touch the front of the respirator. The last step is to perform hand hygiene. Be sure to use hand sanitizer immediately after doffing PPE and avoid touching your face or eyes prior to sanitizing your hands. Do not use the same gown or gloves to care for more than one resident. Discard the gown and gloves in the designated waste container once you have removed them. New gowns and gloves should be used for each resident. If you are caring for several residents with COVID-19 infection, you may continue to use the same respirator and goggles or face shield. Wearing PPE is a great defense for preventing the spread of infections, but it is not the only one. We must also pay attention to what we touch and how we disinfect common areas. Be mindful of what you touch while in a room, even while wearing gloves. Surfaces such as light switches, call buttons, food tray holders, doorknobs, and cabinet knobs can become contaminated if touched by soiled gloves. Also, avoid touching your face when you are caring for a resident. While this may sound easy, keep in mind that, on average, people touch their face about 23 times each hour. You may not even realize you are doing it. It is also important to regularly clean high-touch surfaces in resident rooms. Use the correct Environmental Protection Agency registered disinfectant. Items around the resident can easily become contaminated. This could include telephones, bed rails, and tables. Check to help ensure resident rooms are being cleaned and disinfected properly. If you notice improper cleaning that could put residents or your coworkers at risk, tell your supervisor. These are all ways that we can stop the spread of infection. Together, we can help each other stay healthier, and we may even save a resident's life. Now let's review a few key points. Think about the best answer for each of the following questions. What is the proper order for putting on PPE before coming in contact with a resident who has or may have COVID-19? You should first perform hand hygiene, then put on your gown, then your mask, then your face shield or goggles. Finally, you should put on your gloves. What is the proper order for removing your PPE? Before leaving the residence room, carefully remove your gloves, then your gown. Outside of the residence room, perform hand hygiene. Take off your face shield or goggles. Next, remove your respirator. Remember, you must always perform hand hygiene before putting on PPE and after you remove it. Following infection prevention practices helps keep everyone safe. The PPE that you use, as well as the order in which you put it on and remove it, are keys to stopping the spread of viruses. Hand hygiene should be performed before donning gloves and as soon as they are removed. The safety precautions that you take are just as important as the one-on-one care that you give to your residents. You have completed this learning module. We hope you have learned about how minimizing the risk of infection can protect you, your coworkers, and your residents. Learn more. Watch the next video in this series to learn about steps that facilities can take to minimize the risk of infection. And visit the Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality's website for free tools to help you identify and treat COVID-19.